This is Brian Young, Super Bowl champ, 49er. You're listening to Matt and Dexter on The Grueling Truth.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of the 49ers Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network, brought to you by Gridiron Mo. Gridiron Mo is a new interactive football app that lets you call what you think an offense or defense will do in a live NFL game and compare against what others do across the country. Check it out at gridironmo.com or thegruelingtruth.net. I'm your host for the 49er Weekly Show, Matt Andruscavage. I'd like to welcome in my co-host, former 49ers running back, Dexter Carter. How's it going tonight?
Hey, Matt, it's wonderful, man. Great being with you again as usual.
Likewise. Tough. This is definitely another tough loss, but I think we were talking a little while ago. We saw a few things, and boy, it sure would be nice if that defense was healthy to go with some of the things that we saw offensively.
Absolutely. We talked about things that we hoped to see progression in, and the one biggest thing was, to see if Cap could continue to develop into showing signs of what he once was. And, man, he seems to be becoming more and more comfortable the more and more he plays. And last week, obviously, his numbers showed proof of that. And, excited me because, one, he's not where he needs to be, but, when you throw, for 398 yards, I believe, and, a couple of touchdowns, and you have 3 or 4 receivers that have decent numbers, and one of those receivers, Patton, goes over 100. And then you have a running game that actually, had one running back average 5 yards a carry, but he only had 10 carries, and over the entire team only had about less than 20 carries, and that was based on, the Saints getting on top of us so quickly. But, it seems like offensively things are coming together. But, again, when you get jumped on so quickly and then you have so many injuries on defense, as you mentioned earlier, when we were talking prior to the show, it's kind of hard to have the offense that was produced to sustain enough to, win the ball game. So, some good things to talk about tonight and be optimistic about the offense. But, man, when you got injuries on that defense, it's hurting it so bad, man. It's going to be hard to win ball games here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's just a tough deal all the way around. It's hard because of, they really don't know what's going on up in the front office. Some disappointing news this week with another player going on IR, and just a couple of things that not wanting to see. And then obviously the loss was really tough. I mean, it wasn't like a close game, but it was just like, man, they just really weren't. They got close a couple of times, but just never really got the feeling that they were going to be winning the game. So we'll unpack this a little bit and talk about some things going forward. But we've also got a guest. I'd like to welcome in from Niners Radio, Bryan Bauer. Thanks for joining us tonight, Bryan.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on The Grueling Truth. I love it, guys. Love your show. Love your show.
Well, thank you.
And, as you guys were pointing out, it's, I guess, you take the good with the bad this year. And, the defense is, banged up. And, it all started with Ian Williams going down.
Yep.
And, then Navarro Bowman. Then you had probably one of the better covering linebackers and Ray Armstrong going down. And then you had, obviously, as we all know, leverage with these rookies. They're tall, but, they're not winning those battles. And, we're breaking records that we don't want to break.
Yeah.
That's 7 games in a row with over 100 yards. And, it doesn't get any easier going into this week either. So,
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, coming up, we got the schedule just gets harder. In Arizona, New England, And then Miami's all of a sudden coming on and playing a little bit better. I don't think they're real good, but I mean the defense is going to have its hands full with Jay Ajayi. And then even Chicago could be a problem. So nothing really looks easy right now, and so Dexter and I were talking a little bit before about the possibilities of what things could be right now if what if Ian Williams is there with the young guys Buckner and Armstead, and then you add on playing behind him a healthy Aaron Lynch, a healthy Navarro Bowman, Ray Armstrong, and Will Redmond, who was supposed to be healthy. We were promised he would be healthy, and now he was put on IR this week, third-round draft pick, who was supposed to be this big steal. Everyone was scared that he was going to be another ACL redshirt, and Trent Baalke promised, nope, he's going to be healthy. Wouldn't have drafted him if he's not going to be healthy, and what a disheartening thing that didn't play one snap, and now he's put on IR. It was everything that we all feared. And so it's like, what if all those guys were healthy? The defense was looking pretty good early on in the season, and now all of a sudden the offense is starting to look like, hey, there's some possibilities here of some production. I feel like the team would be, I don't know, I'm not saying we'd have a winning record or anything like that, but boy, maybe things would be looking up if that were the case. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the one possibly positive thing that comes out of this, as far as my opinion, one person that can look optimistically through this is Chip Kelly, because one, many of us are wondering, will the front office, take the bold move to let him go? I don't think they're going to do that. I think when you look at the injuries, how they happen, how soon they happen, that takes our defense, the defense that we thought we were going to have off of the board. Okay, so it puts our offense at a disadvantage, and then we see how that happened, with Gabbard, whom we were optimistic about, and then, just wasn't going well, got stagnant. The receivers weren't playing well, then they make a change. So, first-year coach, in my opinion, not having all the tools together to try to see if we can, have a great season. So I think that in itself gives him another year. If I'm thinking the way they're thinking, why they're going to get rid of a guy when, one, the man has had so many injuries on defense that just decimated, the possibilities, and then Carlos Hyde really hadn't been there as he should have been based on, because of his injury. So kind of crazy thinking about it. But if, Cap continues to progress with what he's doing, these receivers, just build upon this past week. The offensive line just keeps getting stronger and just more experienced. And then get that defense back. Now, I still think they should get a quarterback in the draft now. I don't think we need to overlook that. But you never know what next year could be. We could have a really positive, quick turnaround. So I'm going to continue to be optimistic for the Niners if they take that chance and move forward with it.
Here's my problem, guys. Here's my problem. And I can confirm with three. I don't want to say the names because I don't want to give names out, but I'll tell you guys off there. But I can give you three reporters that were in that locker room last week, and the team was high-fiving people. Not the way a 1-7, 1-8, whatever we are, team should be acting. And I lay that a lot on the coach. Like they think this is okay. And I know they're busting their butt. They don't have the talent to compete on an everyday basis. I understand that. But you should be happy in that locker room. No one should, someone should be throwing a chair and saying, this is disgusting, guys. It concerns me. That was very concerning to hear. Secondly, with Chip Kelly, not knowing, there's too many questions out there about him going back to college. And we've heard and seen this before, guys. We've heard that, he'd be better suited back in college. We've heard that he's, Ian Rappaport has even said there's interest in him going back to college. And why are these reports keep on popping up if it's not true?
Right. And we've already gone through this with Jim Harbaugh. And when those reports came in early, I was the first one to be like, no, there's no way he's going to Michigan. He's got to be. I know he loves being in the NFL. It just didn't seem possible. And even though Chip Kelly came out and says, no, I'm not going back to college, there's just, you don't know.
We've heard that story way too many times.
Right.
We know how this ends.
Right.
We know how this ends.
Yeah, that's true. And couple of things. One, to hear your story about what's transpiring in the locker room, you're right, that's disturbing to me because when you're losing the way that we're losing, there doesn't need to be any high-fiving in the manner in which it sounds like I'm hearing. And then you're right, it's like they're becoming complacent and accepting of their current circumstances and the direction which things seem to be continuing to go. You're right. We would never, back in the day, have accepted that. I don't think Harbaugh's team.
Do you know what Ronnie Lott would have done to you if you played by him?
I mean,
someone would have been punched in the mouth. That's what someone put in that, but that's what I think would have happened.
Oh, and you know what? And your thought is reality. So what's happening now, is just not acceptable. And you're right. It stems from the leadership. Leadership, the head coach, the leaders on that team should never be allowing that to happen. And for somebody to feel comfortable enough to high five enough to where, your resources or your sources are seeing this happen and it seems like nobody's saying anything about it. Yeah, that is a problem. But to comment on, the college coaching rumors, what was interesting is, again, Harbaugh, when those college coaching opportunities arose, and you start hearing whispers, well, that was after the front office and Harbaugh, started becoming at odds. So I understood him, dealing however he needed to deal with that situation and even, eventually going to college. I understand that. But in Chip Kelly's situation, we know the way the lives are going. But I think what makes it more realistic to think Chip Kelly will jump ship is the fact that I think he would jump at that Oregon job in a heartbeat again. And Oregon would jump in a heartbeat based on their current circumstances to get him back, in the fold at Oregon. So that doesn't surprise me a bit. I think they will be the first team to try to, snag him from a desolate situation that he's in right now. And I think he will jump. And coaches aren't going to say, hey, you know what, I'm having talks. No, they're not going to say that. They're going to, however you want to say, cover their butts. They're going to do what they have to do right now. He's not going to admit it, but I think he'll jump ship in a heartbeat, to get a better situation.
Yeah, that's very possible.
That's just my opinion.
I heard rumors about, I don't know if it was Texas A&M or somewhere in Texas, I thought was what I read that was potentially someone was saying that'd be either a good fit for him or there was interest there or something like that. If that ends up happening, like you said, it wouldn't be a shock because he probably is better suited for college. It's just more, just being straight, it probably is more of a college coach. But I'm thinking, if it doesn't happen, let's just say for the sake of argument, that it doesn't happen, that he's not going to go back to college, I think that they probably will keep him around another year, and more than likely, I got to believe that maybe it is going to be Trent Baalke that ends up getting axed. If it's one or the other, I saw something else that the two of them could end up. It could be one or the other by the end of the season. I don't. Again, it's hard to speculate without being inside that front office to know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and are they talking collectively as a group? Who is I know there's Jed, but who is he talking to kind of set the course of where the organization is going? Is it Baalke? But then if it's Baalke, then obviously they're not looking to get rid of him. But again, you got to look. Hey, I know they don't want to, look across the bay, for any advice, but man, you better look at what they did when they made some bold moves and and start setting the organization in a positive direction and taking a chance on something new and that had a template to put that organization in the right direction. So somebody's got to do something. Jed is not going anywhere, but he needs to either come. But he needs to confide heavily in Eddie D, Coleman Policy, John McVay, somebody to try to get this, to right, the ship, before it really gets too late.
Right. Bryan, what do you think about where this could end up? I mean, from my
personally,
Baalke's going to go, but I don't know.
Yeah, I personally think, I think Baalke does get let go. I think they bring a more experienced GM in, and obviously, for how much we would love it, there's people out there that'll come in, but you're going to have to overpay for them. You're going to have to give a lot of control to them. And now we're in a situation where we could have done the same thing with Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
And were they 2 or 3 in the country right now?
Yeah.
And you see what he's doing, and those aren't even his guys yet.
Exactly.
So, I think they realize that they made a mistake. Is Tom Gable the answer? No, because, he was more of a Chip guy. So, if Chip's going to stay around, yeah, I could see him getting the general manager position.
Tom Gamble?
But I think at this, Tom Gamble, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. I think he would be the likely choice, but go ahead.
Yeah, but, I think, I think we do draft another quarterback. I could see Chris Ponder being our starter for the next couple of years. Because I really don't think Kaepernick or, Blaine are here with this team next year. I mean, it doesn't make sense if, even if Chip Kelly does stay around, they want to go in a different direction, obviously. There's going to be a lot of people that lose their, season tickets because they're not going to pay for something that the product is not shown on the field. There's no way.
Right.
And that's business. That's what it is. It's a business decision at this point.
Yeah, I look at it and it looks to me like if Chip Kelly does not go back to college, but certainly we all acknowledge that it's a possibility. If he doesn't go back to college, I don't think they're going to fire him. It looks to me like they would give Tom Gamble a shot. I mean, he was like the director of player personnel, I think, under Baalke, while they were building the Super Bowl roster. And I know he went to Philly, and I don't know exactly what happened there. But yeah, you're right. He is more of a Chip Kelly guy. It seems to me like the ownership likes Chip Kelly more than possibly more than Baalke, but I don't really know. But yeah, I think it's more than likely they're going to allow Kaepernick to go to free agency, get somebody in the draft, and just kind of start over from there. The hope is that the next they got whoever the GM is, it just can't have a big old setback, because otherwise that's just even longer. Now you got to wait for something good to come back to the field.
Yeah, you just mentioned something that was interesting that I didn't think about. You mentioned about Cap and free agency. I was looking at it more as, if Cap continues to play well and re-solidify himself. But at the end of the day, they may be hoping Cap plays well so he can become more marketable,
and
valuable to someone.
They redid his contract so he can opt out, and they can cut him without any injury settlement and all that stuff. So they basically made it so he can be a free agent and there's no liability. I mean, that's pretty much what I got out of that when they restructured it. So it seems like everything is set up for him to succeed now, look as good as possible, so he can kind of go on his way and find something somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's rough because we're looking at a total ground up rebuild, and that's just hard. You got to have the right guy to do that. We have not had to really do that since. We obviously under Harbaugh came in. There was some talent, but he was the one that kind of put it all together. You got to go back to Bill Walsh because he came in. Yeah. It was this kind of a team, 2-14 team. Didn't even have enough draft picks, and he had to build a secondary out of coat hangers and duct tape, and he put that team together and ended up launching a dynasty. You don't just find guys that can do that. That's really tough.
Well,
and I also think that it might be the time to trade someone like Matt Andruscavage and put him in the right position on another team, knowing that you're going to have to rebuild for 3 or 4 years to be competitive again. And, get what you can for Navarro. He's still probably, first or second inside linebacker when healthy.
Yeah.
So, teams would line up to get him. Is this draft, deep enough where you could, make a couple of trades like that? Absolutely. But, it's just a question of, how do you want to build this team? Do you want to build from the defensive side or the offensive side?
Right. I mean, there's no identity whatsoever.
No, and you need those leaders. Like when you guys came on my show, there's not enough leaders. Is Joe Staley a leader? Absolutely not. He's not the guy that's going to take someone by the shirt and say, you need to step up. You need to do this. It was Patrick Willis that was doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it took a while for Patrick Willis to do that. But he finally did it. And they showed these guys what to do right and what to do wrong. And right now, there is no true leader on this team.
Yeah, during the Super Bowl,
and that's a concern.
Randy Moss was a leader. He kind of repaired Michael
Absolutely.
Crabtree started stop. He actually started paying attention during the classroom meetings. They said all of a sudden his attention was there. He started taking better notes, and all because Randy Moss was there. It's like having a guy like that, having leaders like that. It just makes such a difference for the young guys.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, but there's so much more needed than that right now.
Right.
And
no doubt.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for them, but I know, they got enough guys there getting paid enough to where they've got to figure it out soon.
No question about it. So, we were talking a little bit about the Saints game. Were there some areas that you guys felt like they can build upon? It's looking real grim with the defense right now. Eric Armstead put on an injured reserve this week, so they're going to have, if they're going to win any games, they're probably going to have to put up 35 points. I don't know that they could do that on a regular basis. It looks like they could put up maybe 21, but I don't know. It's pretty tough because there's just no. I don't see any way they're going to stop you play a guy like David Johnson. It's very hard to see him not getting over 100 yards.
I was excited. Yeah, I was excited to see the 49ers score 14 points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
You know,
I was too.
I mean that. Yeah, you know, and unfortunately, we know that that's not going to happen. You know, over the course of 4 quarters. You know, one quarter after the next. You know, enough to, you know, stay on par with the, you know, a team like, you know, New Orleans or a team like Arizona, when Arizona does have Johnson, you know, running the ball the way he's doing. I mean, this guy here, whenever I watch him run, and I see the way he goes down, runs downhill, and he's a big kid, but he's got speed and he got jump cuts, and I mean, he can stop and go, man. That's just, you know, that's just awesome what he does. And then, you know, Carson Palmer throwing the ball, Fitzgerald, you know, Floyd out there, you know, they can put up, you know, give or take 14 points, you know, every other quarter, you know, and score 3 points a game, which we can't do. So this particular game here, we know that is not going to happen. I'd be totally shocked if, if the game's, you know, not out of hand, you know, late third quarter. But that's not losing. That's not has nothing to do with losing faith in the 49ers. It's just being realistic in what Arizona has offensively and defensively, and what we don't have defensively. Even if offensively, you know, we don't allow them to get up on us too quick, and we can kind of have a balanced attack, the run and the pass based on last week. You know, who knows? Maybe we can hang in there for a half, but we're going to have some luck on our side, some turnovers, and you know, and God forbid Arizona has any injuries, but you know, that would help us out a little bit. And I'm saying God forbid because I don't want any team to have injuries, but you know, we know how injuries can set us back, and you know, Arizona's no different. Injuries can set them back, and you know, give us more of an opportunity to, you know, be on par and compete.
Right.
I'd be happy if they were, you know, if they only allowed under 35 points this week.
Yeah.
That would be a win-win for the team.
Yeah, I was joking around with my brother on Sunday. I was at his house watching some games, and I said, "Hey, my Niners have only given up 31 points at the half. This is a victory." But yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I got a couple other questions for you guys, and you know, Dexter, I wanted to know. You know, we were talking about Bryan kind of beat me to the punch, mentioning you know, guys were kind of high-fiving, and I read that report, and I was like, oh, you don't want to, like we were talking about before, you don't want to be complacent. But how would you handle as a player? What do you think the locker room ought to be like? I mean, I don't know if, you know, throwing chairs at lockers is what is standard operating procedure, but you know, how do good veterans, good leaders handle, you know, when you're 1-7, something like that? You know, what do you do?
You know what?
You don't want to be throwing people up against the locker saying, "Come on, you better get with it." But on the other hand, you can't be high-fiving.
Now, there are certain players that would jack you up and, you know, put you against the lockers if that happened. I mean, for, you know, I'm going to just give you another example, but this week, you know, my high school team, you know, my first year here, offensive coordinator, and the school's 8 years old here in Augusta, Georgia, and it's their first year making the playoffs, first year being their top rival. And so we're hoping to make another first this Friday night by winning our first playoff game. And practice on Monday was quite lackadaisical because they never practiced prior to a playoff game. So the last 5 years I've been to 4 state championship games, And, the fifth year was the playoffs also, the 4 straight state championship games. So in my mind, I know how you prepare, not just during the season, but surely, once the playoffs come, there's a way in which you prepare. So there are coaches also that hadn't been there. So, I see this like a day's go practice on Monday, and, you can't just sit and not say anything. So I addressed it. I told them that there's a manner in which you act, there's a manner in which you practice, and there's an effort in which, another level you take it to, whenever, you get to the playoffs. So, the 49ers aren't in the playoffs, but it doesn't matter. Before you start, I always say you got to treat a player in a way in which you want him to be in the future. You have to train as an athlete, as an elite player before you become elite, in my opinion. Same with an elite team. You got to believe it and then start laying the groundwork and the action to become that. So when I see this high-fiving or I hear about it, I personally, I wasn't a big talker, but I do know that I would address it verbally. Depending on how it happened, in the situation that happened. Now, if it would happen after a game and we just lost, or even that week after a loss, no. There will have to be some verbiage, going on and addressing, and wouldn't care whether their feelings got hurt or not, because I'm sure there's got to be more than one person in that locker room that maybe not have played in the playoffs, but maybe had won in college, and they know what it feels like, that will back up me in addressing this issue. So, it would definitely have to be addressed verbally, and, and hey, if I was, 6'2", maybe even address it physically, but yeah, in the past, that wouldn't even be an issue of being addressed. It would definitely be addressed.
Right. Yeah, go ahead, Bryan.
No, that would have. I heard that, and I said, I kind of got a little bit down after that. I said, it's hard because we love this team so much, and to hear that, and the expectations that being a 49er fan, back in the Eddie D days, it was Super Bowl or bust. It kind of stung a little to hear something that bad, that, and I'm sure, Matt can tell you a little bit more, but even looking on Facebook and that, some of these fans they call themselves 49er faithfuls, they sure really aren't acting like it, and now our team's not acting like it. And that's, it's really, I'm going to just say it's really painful and hurtful, and you want to do something about it. But a lot of these people, you don't want to say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but, it kind of hurts as a real true 49er fan that puts our heart and soul, and especially with you guys with Grill and Truth, that, you put a lot of time in getting the show together. And, and those people just make you so mad. And now you hear the team is not trying the way you want them to. It hurts. It hurts. And, that's my comment on that. And that's why I really wish Facebook would just go away.
Yeah, social media is definitely not fun. Social media would have been really tough. I would not have really liked that in the 90s either when Dallas was around. I'm glad. Yeah. 94 would have been fun, but...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about this, Matt. Could you imagine? Okay, we all through the Alex Smith thing, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if social media was around when Steve Young took Joe Montana's position?
Oh my God.
Oh my
God.
Cannot imagine.
That's nothing.
He's MVP of the league because Joe hadn't played in 2 years. He's MVP of the league. They come off the 14-2 season, and they lose in the championship game against the Cowboys. And Joe came back for the last half of the last regular season game, and that was a really nice send off. And it was kind of like, yeah, this was great. Good to see Joe back. But hey, we got the MVP of the league here. Maybe it'd be wise to move him. He's definitely older now. I mean, I never wanted to see Joe Montana get traded. I mean, but it was probably the right move just because Steve Young was MVP of the league and he was healthy and everything. But I can't even imagine what that would have been like on Facebook and Twitter and all that. Oh my gosh, terrible.
Yeah. I lived through it, from a front row seat. So,
right.
you're absolutely right. Social media would have just killed it because you have players that, had who they preferred. It's kind of hard to, not see Joe Montana, just hanging in there and playing till he could not play anymore. But then you see Steve, who, as you saw in a couple of years, became MVP of the league. So, that kind of shows rationale in the decision, to, keep a player that had more years than another player, regardless of take the name off the back of the jersey. If you just go on that, then you know what, they made the right move. But from a young player, watching it, it put a lot of things in perspective for me. And I think Joe still had it, but but the team just spread a guy who had won, 4 Super Bowls for him. So that kind of brought a lot of things to reality for me on how the league looks at players. So, but yeah, social media would have killed that situation, and it would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm thankful that it wasn't around. But you're right, it's definitely a problem now. But well,
hey,
go ahead.
And speaking of social media, just imagine. I don't even know if the 49er players. It'll be interesting to see how many have kind of aborted their social media sites or just got off of them. Just because, really, I wonder what are they saying? Because you can block people, but a lot of players just accept friendships from 49er fans. When things are going great, it's wonderful, but when things are going bad, those faithful, they become quite belligerent sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, just how many players are getting destroyed and embarrassed, because a lot of them have kids. Surely they have family. And, people are saying things that aren't very, very nice. So it'll make you shut your social media accounts down.
Right. I don't even know why. I can't even imagine having a social media account that wasn't like if I was maybe Instagram, because then you can just totally set it to private. I mean, you can do the same thing with Facebook, but the things that I've read, I follow a number of them on Twitter and Instagram, and it is staggering when then you add the fantasy football part of it to it, where people are yelling that you didn't score enough points for my team. I mean, man, like you said, these guys got kids, and they turn so quickly and just say the craziest stuff to these guys. I just can't even imagine wanting to do that as a player. Why engage that? Because Anthony Davis seems to like it because he says some crazy stuff on Twitter, but not everyone's like that.
Interesting.
But I don't know. So we'll we'll see what happens this week when they play the Cardinals, and we'll see if.
Oh boy.
I know I'm not super optimistic, but we're the faithful, and we'll keep watching, we'll keep believing, keep hoping for the best. And I mean, I don't know how this season's gonna, when the season concludes, what moves are going to be made. I just don't know what kind of direction they're looking to go and how they're going to rebuild this. It's really, really hard to see an end to this. So I'm hoping that there is one. So,
yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm looking for a great effort, and to someone addresses, I guess their focus, their attention to detail, and their, belief and want to win. So, and just give every ounce of their effort in practice, and whatever plays they're in the ball game or a whole lot of plays, man, that's just hard for me to believe there. But those things are going to have to change because I don't see how, a team can even, man, it's hard, man. I'm trying to just encompass this the best way I can, and it's hard to even see them going to Arizona and knowing as I watch this game that they really don't care if they win or they lose. And when I say that, it can't be every player on that team, but whoever isn't doing that doesn't have the leverage or the status on the team to say something to these other guys that are doing that. So as I watch the game, a lot of things are going to be going through my mind on, what's real, what was not real, whether they're just going through the motions, But
right.
But one thing I can say, Cap may not feel like he's got a voice to get him a player safe because of everything else that has been going on. But when you look at his numbers, it's hard to question his effort.
Yeah.
Because the numbers speak for themselves.
Well, yeah, like you said. Go ahead,
that's
man.
another thing. Oh, that's another thing. This might not be politically correct, but on this day, I think it's okay to say. Kaepernick spoke, and maybe he's changed the way he's out there, but it's time for him to address his team. He's supposed to be the captain out there, and do you remember when we went to the Super Bowl and he was going over and talking to the defense, and Justin Smith was like, "What are you doing over here?" And you didn't see that. You don't see that. You see him looking at the, looking at the plays that just happened, and you're not seeing that fire that every player has. That Dexter had, that fire to spoil someone's day. Okay, maybe we don't go to the playoffs, but spoil these people get into the playoffs. You don't see that,
right?
And that's the concern I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's just, to me, it's just right now the biggest problem on the team is a lack of leadership, whether it be from the players, the coaches, the management. The whole thing just looks like just a deficiency in leadership, and they got to find a way to get that back.
Well, let's hope they get it.
That's right.
If not, they got to start bringing, get some of these guys healthy on the defensive side that I felt like wouldn't have allowed this to go on, or start bringing in, younger players or veterans from other teams that knows about this, that can, address these issues or lead by example. One of the two or both. Hopefully, they can get through free agency or, through the draft this next year.
Agree. And you guys got any final thoughts for either the Saints game, the Cardinals game, or anything else about the team?
I'm just interested in, one, seeing if Cap and the receivers can build on, their play from this week, and hopefully Hyde will play. If he doesn't, or if he does, that, will be a pretty good balance of the run and pass, and build on last week. And other than that, unfortunately, the defense, has a lot of work to do. But, hate that. But, I'm looking to see if Johnson, can keep up this here, pace he's on, and seeing if Fitzgerald can continue to be the force that he is here in Florida. And, if Palmer can, stay consistent and end up, being what we thought it would be in the beginning of the season, which was, Seattle Seahawks and Arizona Cardinals battle, in this division.
Well, I'd certainly like to see Arizona before Seattle, but that's another story. How about you, Brian?
Yeah, no, I definitely want to look at, obviously the nose tackle that's been a concern all year long. I'd like to see a little better play, whoever's going to play that position. And then I want to, I'd like to see someone that helped us last year, and that's Dante Johnson, the cornerback. Yeah. He gave Fitzgerald problems last year, and it's going to be very interesting to see how much he plays and how much he actually covers Fitzgerald, which I think he did a fantastic job last year. And, once again, build on what you did last week. And, I think the object is try to keep Arizona under 30 points. And hopefully we see something that we haven't seen all year. And that's what you got to hope for.
Right. Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. And we'll just, as we say, we'll just stay faithful, hope for the best, and we'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it again next show. So be sure, everyone, to check out articles and other podcasts over at thegruelingtruth.net and our Facebook page. Also follow us on Twitter at gruelingtruth. Brian, you want to tell listeners where they can listen to your show?
Yeah, you can listen to us on Blog Talk Radio and Blog Talk Radio / DOTBS. And you can also catch us at www.ninersradio.com. And I really appreciate you having me on.
Hey, Brian.
And you guys have a great night.
We appreciate it. Thanks for being
so
here. And also, Dexter, thanks for always appreciate doing the show with you every week. And I know we'll be looking to get together next time for another show. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure as always. And I appreciate you joining us tonight. Matt's already said thank you, but yeah, we thank you for joining us. We enjoy being on your show, and thank you for, reciprocating and helping make our special.
Anytime, guys. Anytime.
All right. Well, we'll look to get another show going pretty soon. And so for Bryan Bauer, Dexter Carter, I'm Matt Andruscavage. You've been listening to the 49ers Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network, where the legends speak.